for the Aussie Gridiron Network.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
A very well-known bloke around the hallways here at the Aussie Gridiron Network.
That's pretty much the tagline of this podcast is Fuck Taylor.
Aussie?
And then old Matty C, taking it up the rear, bringing it up the rear, something like that. 7 points.
Probably some Saquon these nuts.
Saquon these nuts.
I just made that up in the flop.
NFL.
It's us against Taylor because it will be good for World Brand and Kev will be happy with you. And it'll be good for my brand. And, fuck Taylor. Whatever. He can fend for himself.
Fantasy.
And then you get some question like, which grain of sand did Moses stand on in Jerusalem back in...
Yes. Give us the
back in
exact coordinates.
200 BC.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Waiting for the person that wants to marry the zombie queen and then have a zombie.
Gorgeous. Going in a drop. Australia's premier NFL fantasy football show is back for another week. You're listening to the Aussie Gridiron Network, and this is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. They call me Matty C, and with me this week is just a participant from start to the week. A man who, he may have had one more player than me in his lineup, but just couldn't get the job done. So he's Australia's second finest fantasy analyst. It's Taylor Goodall. How are you, mate?
Boys, get your dicks out for week 6. Let's fucking do this. Absolutely pumped. Cannot believe it's already been 5 weeks in the season already. But yeah, mate, funny enough, I believe someone actually moved to the top of the leaderboard in our starts of the week, but it's not that episode, mate. No point to bring that shit up. I've been described as the best Goodall, and don't mean to foreskin, but we'll find out tonight.
Oh, will we? The best Goodall. It sounds like a race to the bottom.
The world's tallest gnome, yeah.
Wait till I bring on the other Connor. The world's tallest gnome, especially between you two. The tall is a word. The foreskin's everywhere already. We've been here a minute. Welcoming an old friend. He joined us in the past with some good old pre-draft analysis, but also some nonsense. Brother to one of the cast and the mortal enemy of the other. So I'd like to introduce my brother, Kieran Goodall.
Thank you very much. Well, I resisted the urge to say something to Taylor then as he was talking, but I refused to talk until I was introduced. So, what matters?
He's got manners.
Can't wait for the 1,100 dad jokes again tonight. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, no. I'm glad you got me on the week that I was cut from the Guillotine League.
That was going to be my go-to. I was like the headless one. Kieran, how you feeling after having your head chopped off?
Apparently having Archain in multiple leagues is not a good thing when he goes down with concussion. So
how good's that Miami offense without Tua? Remember when everyone tried to say that anyone could do that job and Tua sucked?
Yeah.
I mean, Tua, to be fair, he has his issues, but it's funny how all of a sudden without him, they are just dog shit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, that is probably stymieing the good name of dog shit, to be honest. You're probably tarnishing that because, I don't even know who the Dolphins can beat anymore. Oh, my God.
Yeah, dog shit's punching the air right now.
Every dog shit has its day.
Like in Mark Andrews' wishes, he was dog shit right now.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, that's a whole other issue. Kieran, it is good to have you back, even in the face of all of that. I'm sorry that you have to work alongside my mortal enemy, Taylor.
No, that's why I'm used to it.
How's your fantasy season rolling along? I understand you're in a bunch of different leagues, different formats. Any success?
Just the usual shit, to be honest. The usual. I think last week I lost every single league I was in.
No, you did. You did it actually. You beat me by like 100 points because I'm in the Kelly Cup with him, and I was first in scoring, and then I went ahead and put up like a 52 against Kez, and that was his only win of the year. But he beat me by like 100.
That's so satisfying, Kez. How do you not remember this?
When I said last week, I didn't mean that was 2 weeks ago, Taylor. This week just gone. I lost it.
Okay.
I just wanted to call out, I had CJ Stroud and Collins combo in Kelly Cup, and on halftime, CJ Stroud was on 22 points. He finished on 18, and I lost my matchup by 4 points. And Nico didn't play the second half. CJ Stroud went backwards in points by 4 points, and I lost by 4. So, yeah, fantasy's awesome. I love it. And I got guillotined. And in the Dynasty League, 2 minutes before I moved Darnold into the start instead of Kirk Cousins, and I would have beaten Taylor.
And that was against me, yep.
Oh, Darnold. You know what's been funny this week is people go, Darnold fucked me. And you're like, just say that sentence again and remember a month ago when nobody had Darnold. Stop it. Stop it. Darnold is no savior.
In that league, you have to start 2 quarterbacks, and both of my quarterbacks were on bye. So I basically had Jacoby Brissett and nobody. I took a massive punt. I was like, I reckon Flacco might play, and he was on waivers. So I spent like $28 in Fab, even though no one else spent anything. But I was like, I don't give a shit. I have to take a chance because like I need someone off the body. And anyway, I had to sit there and sweat out the fucking Anthony Richardson injury, and then all of a sudden when he was playing, I'm like, thank fuck, because whatever he scores is more than nothing. And then he puts up like a 32 or something. So like between Kez changing from Cousins to Darnold and then me getting that, it was a massive swing.
That's a huge swing, yeah. Because the Kirk Cousins game, depending on your scoring, might have been anywhere between sort of 34 and 40.
39 in our league, yeah. And to be honest, I haven't touched that team all year because I'm so shit in dynasty. I just leave it. Just let it sit and forget. For some reason, I looked at my phone 30 seconds, 60 seconds before the game and decided to make that change. And it was very gut-wrenching.
Taylor and I were actually in a Sam Darnold Believers Club at one point.
Yeah, we were.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Kez. I remember when we did the start of this double dynasty draft, I remember like Dan sniped me for Darnold, like a pick early before me, and I was so cut because like I was like, this is Darnold's breakout, blah, blah, blah. This was like 4 years ago. And anyway, it was at the Panthers, and he had that like ridiculous like first 2 or 3 weeks. Anyway, then Dan sold him to Pete for a first, and then he just turned into an absolute turd. I was like, thank fuck. Because I think I was offering like 2 seconds or something to try and get him, and he was going to take it. Then all of a sudden, Pete offered a first. So I was like, fuck me. Like, Darnold has just absolutely destroyed some people, but he seems to be turning it around this year.
He's in my stable of 8 quarterbacks.
That was hilarious because I had no quarterbacks, and I looked over at my opponent, and Kieran's got like 8, like sitting there, and it actually screwed him. Like Dan even brought it up. It was like, it actually screwed him having so many to pick from because it made him choose a different one. If he just had like just Cousins and someone else, he would have been fine.
Just a quick question for clarification. If you were choosing between Cousins and Darnold, who was your other quarterback?
Purdy.
I was going to say, it was Josh Allen.
No, don't bring it up.
No, I had Purdy. Purdy's pretty much locked in, and I had, who else I got? I got Derek Carr, Gino.
Bo Nix, do you have?
I've got Bo Nix.
This is my entire starts of the week list. What are you doing?
So many.
Yeah.
I researched every single one of these guys.
And I've been holding on to Jalen Talbot for about 3 years since he got drafted now, and he finally gave me a score on the weekend too. So I'm sure we're going
we've got another segment. That guy might come up.
Mate, I am not worthy. That is an amazing piece of foresight, Kieran.
yeah, just totally.
Hey, Tate, we've got a segment that we subject people to if they haven't been through it yet. Does Kieran know what he's getting into with our introductory to a new guest each time?
Well, Kieran actually heard Pete Neal get subject to this like a while back, and he actually got hot pissed and messaged me straight away and said, why didn't I get this? He actually wanted it. So his answers better be fucking schmick because he wanted it.
Fucking wish granted, Kieran.
Mate, last time I came on this show, it's like, we'll warm you up. We'll do a few things ourselves, then we'll just involve you. And it was like, welcome to the show. What do you think, Kieran, about this running back? And I'm just like, fucking hell, like, just ease me in, guys. A bit of lube.
Diddy's got all of them.
I'm actually glad I've been given a bit of warning on what these questions are today, so thank you.
To take you a softball. Okay.
I definitely didn't give him the 5 questions, but I gave him a bit of leeway of some of the other segments, just in case. I was a bit too nice.
Well, mate, I say this to most folks who come in, you'll very quickly learn who is your friend and who is your enemy in this segment. Mate, I'm going to push you off gently down the stream with an easy one. This is something we ask everybody who comes on is, what's something about you that the audience might find interesting?
And this is a question you asked them, everyone. So I had to think about this one, and there's just so many things.
Make up something good?
No, I actually tried to think of something super random from like a long, long time ago that people wouldn't even know. And I was thinking about like just random things, and I remembered Has anyone seen the show American Chopper? Remember the old show on
motorcycle.
the motorcycle,
Oh,
the father and son motorcycle on like National Geographic Channel or something. Anyway,
Yeah, it was before A&E existed. Yeah.
yeah.
So how far back we're going.
There was like a character on that. It wasn't even the main character. It was the brother, Mikey, and he had long hair and he was a big dude. And I had long hair at the time. This is like, 21, 22. And I looked so much like this guy that I had multiple occasions where like I had a customs lady at Sydney Airport stop me, pull me out of the line and actually want my autograph because she just believed I was this Mikey guy from American Chopper. I actually had to like show her my passport basically and say, no, I'm not Mikey. I had guys at Mooseheads in Canberra try to buy me drinks all night because they thought I was Mikey. Multiple people just think I was this guy. So for a long, long time, I was Mikey off American Chopper. So that's a random fact for you.
You've just found your do a side-by-side comparison, Matty. You've just found your photo for the podcast.
It's entire social media this week, so thank you for that. Yeah.
I did have long blonde like hair past my shoulders at that time, same as Mikey though. So I definitely.
We'll get some photos. We'll find them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a look you should also bring back if possible.
No, I've got the remnants of a great society of hair.
It might need to be
That's
a wig
beautiful way
at this point
to describe that.
Yeah.
That exact story reminded me, Kez, when we went up to your band tour up in Coffs Harbour, and the guy would not believe I wasn't Greg Eastwood. Like, I literally showed him my license, and he was like, "No, that's a fake license. No, there's no way. You are 100% Greg Eastwood." And after like 5 minutes, I was like, "Yep, I'm Greg Eastwood, mate. You got me."
Yeah.
And then he just started buying me drinks because I'm fucking Greg Eastwood. I'm like, "Okay, awesome." It was fucking hilarious. That was an awesome trip.
You didn't even need to divulge that story, but you just did. And
I did
you
anyway.
realise
Why wouldn't I?
you just can't say things like that in front of an open mic with me around. So it's going to bite you later.
Mate, that's fine. I was just accepting it after a while because it wasn't just him. No, I got called him I got called him a lot. It's just one of those things. I think because I'd played a little bit with the Bulldogs and stuff, and I had the jersey. There was even a photo going around of me looking like him. It's fucking hilarious. Anyway, this is about Kieran.
After only 2 weeks ago, I discovered that a young Taylor Goodall looks a bit like a young Paul Vorton. So oh my god! Wow. Classic. Okay. Well, that question really dug some stuff up. Quickly, Kieran, is there any party that just decided to lean in and just go, fuck it, I'm just Mikey and I'm just going to sign shit for people and dial up the accent? Like, I know that, had guys just buying you drinks because they wouldn't believe you know, but did you ever just lean into it?
I think the night they were buying us drinks, we ended up giving in and just saying, yeah, all right, fine, buy us a drink. Like whatever, like, stop, like, having to explain, like.
Anyway, Kez, I'm bringing the questions we really care about. Let's get over this bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
This is the stuff everyone wants to hear about. Anyway, let's get to it. If you were in an apocalypse, would you rather be fighting zombies or aliens?
That's such a fucking dumb question.
What a reaction.
Aliens, and I don't know why. Oh, actually, aliens, because, like, they could be anything. They could be small, and I could have a size advantage, whereas a zombie's a zombie. You know what a fucking zombie looks like. Aliens, there's some kind of unknown that I could have an advantage somehow.
This is what I say. It's like, everyone assumes that it's, like, powerful being and, like, got all this shit, all this tech and stuff, whereas, like we said, they could just look like Paul or, like, the fucking alien from or like the alien from American Dad. It's just like a fucking spoon head.
Marvin the Martian. Yeah.
Where's the kaboom? Yeah, to be tiny. To be tiny, you to stand on.
Beat the living shit out of them. I got to go back to what's such a dumb question. Is it because that was an easy answer, or you just don't like the question in general?
Just. I don't know. It's just like, what does my answer prove, boys? What does my answer prove to you about me? Like
to get them guests talking.
They call it comic relief in the business, Kieran.
Yeah, mate, you wanted lube. This is the lube question.
I might have been a little bit aggressive with my response to that. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
I'd like to see you tell Isaac Connolly that this is not a serious question, because that guy spent so long thinking about it, he realised that the way to survive the apocalypse is to marry the alien queen.
Yeah, he's toweling up an alien as we speak.
He's just going to charm her. And then he's going to start a little colony of half Isaac, half aliens just to overcome.
So now we're
So
expecting.
I'd like to hear you tell him that this isn't a serious question, mate.
His family was made off this segment, and now we're just waiting for the person to take the zombie family, just to even it up.
The zombie family.
He's marrying the zombie queen. Oh, Jesus. But that question never fails to amuse. And I reckon it's fairly balanced. The last time I actually did a proper score count on this, it was around about 5 each. And I don't know that it's moved. I'm pretty sure it's about the same because last week we had zombies. So
I think so, yeah. It's very even now. It was zombie central for the first 4 people, and then I was trying to
Nick Cosmo was all over
away. I was trying to get everyone else to go the other way. Apparently, it worked.
It would be kind of cool though, fighting zombies, and you could just drive around listening to Zombie Nation the whole time, like have a soundtrack. Yeah, you know a game's on the line when Zombie Nation starts playing.
Oh, mate.
that'd be fun in a monster truck, just plowing zombies.
Yeah.
That was my first thought, just baseball bat. Like their mailboxes, just bang, bang, bang.
Oops, step back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity.
More Eminem.
This is an Eminem podcast. White guys rapping. It's all we've got. Mate, being an NFL thing, everyone's got a favourite NFL team who we've spoken to through time here, and sort of wanted to catch on to how you found your favourite NFL team.
I go for the Steelers. I've gone for the Steelers for quite some time. It's a pretty lame story, to be honest. When I was probably 97, 98, when I was like, I don't know, what would that have made me, 13, 14, I went to Paddy's Markets in Sydney and I bought a Jerome Bettis jersey.
The bus!
Just chose it randomly, and then I became a Steelers fan after that. That was as simple as that. I needed a team. I found a jersey, picked the bus, and I was good to go.
I've got a connective tissue to the bus because I did a very similar thing, and I bought a bus jersey at some stage and wore it to training at the Astros one evening, and like the ironic joke of this tiny little white unaggressive guy wearing the jersey of a big black aggressive football player who's quite talented and strong was just not lost on this group of men. So for the next 4 seasons, I was nicknamed Bus.
I thought it would be better to call you Minibus.
Yeah, but that would be ironic.
Progression, because then you can become coach.
True. That's true. That's true.
You like that one? Yeah, well, I thought you would. I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah, Polamalu after that was a good one of my favorites too.
The only people I know who don't like Polamalu are Ravens fans too, so it tells you a lot about Polamalu.
Fair enough.
Did you start going for the Penguins after the Steelers, Kez?
Brutes. Shortly after, I think I just like gravitated to Pittsburgh teams other than basketball. I mean, but they don't have a basketball team.
Yeah. So you've got the Pirates, but then what do you do for basketball?
He doesn't go for the Pirates.
Actually, no, I don't actually, because I guess I only gravitated to those two. To the Steelers.
Because the Pirates suck. They are.
Ask him who he goes for then.
Oh, geez. Are you going to say the Orioles?
No, I go for the currently nomadic Oakland Athletics. Well, sorry, the Athletics.
Mate, I don't know that. A team with a green hat with a gold A? I mean, you could do worse than that as an Aussie.
Yeah, I to be honest, like the Orioles have kind of become my second team, and they're actually merging into becoming my first team. I'm losing a bit of faith with the Athletics.
Well, the good thing about the Orioles is they suck so much, it's easy to love them because they're not a threat.
The Orioles or the Athletics?
No, the Orioles.
The Orioles are decent.
They're good. They just can't win a playoff game. That's all. They've got a really good young team, but
never a threat. See,
they were like one of the worst teams ever, like a few years ago, and then all of a sudden now they've just become playoff chokers. I do wonder what's actually worse. Were they actually better when their fans had absolutely no hope and they were just winning like 20 games a year, and then now they just actually go good in the regular season and choke?
Yeah.
I was going to say one other interesting thing about Kez is he owns about 6,000 hats. He's got like this massive hat collection, like MLB teams and a bunch of sport teams.
What's your favorite hat?
Favorite hat? I think
one that you really love. It doesn't even have to be your favorite, but just one you really love.
No, my favorite at the moment is I got a sort of an old school Oakland Athletics hat with the elephant hat. It's white and purple. It's really cool. That's a cool hat. My favorite.
That's really cool. Hat guy.
But yeah, I've got a wall. I've got about 30 hats on the wall. So it's a collection in progress.
Now, because of how woke the world's getting, how many of those hats are you not allowed to display on the wall anymore? Because there's some teams that you're not allowed to do anymore.
Baseball. They're mainly baseball, to be honest, and they're like they're pretty good. There's nothing really too offensive on them, and I only collect teams.
Would have been the old Cleveland. It would have only been the old Cleveland logo, really, wouldn't it?
Because I've got one of those, and it's hidden from view, but I've got one.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I just collect hats of teams I don't hate. So you're never going to find it. There's a few teams I will just never buy a hat of. So I just clean. It's basically all the shit teams.
Love my shit teams.
All the teams that are good, I hate. So yeah, it's just all the shit teams.
Well, Kaz, if you hated my first question, I can't even understand how much you're going to fucking hate this one.
Oh God!
So this, I can't wait for the reaction on this one. What would you put on your NFL fantasy Tinder profile?
Fucking hell.
Come on, lure one in, Kev.
Tinder profile, and who am I trying to attract?
Well, that's the question. We've had a very big range.
Depends what you're into.
Some people have been nice. Some people have talked about seeing semen. It's been a pretty big reach. It's pretty much just a tagline on the top of your Tinder profile to lure whoever you want.
Yeah, just show you're into your fantasy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kind of been joking about mine being something to do with being handy with handcuffs and stuff like that, but
Yeah, fair. Okay, Kieran Goodall, worth a late round flyer.
Well done.
Bravo.
Writing that down.
Yeah. You'd pick a defense and a kicker in front of me, but worth that 16th round, worth a flyer.
He's the Lad McConkey.
So good. So good. That's going on a t-shirt.
Lad McConkey.
That will be in the merch store by Friday. So good. Okay. Last one is 100% a fantasy question. We've been playing fantasy for a few years now. Who has been your favorite fantasy player? And I mean, we get a range of things here. Just someone who you either loved owning or who took you to a championship or whatever it might be, a player that you owned early, you found for free and did a bunch for you, whatever it might be. But who's been your favorite fantasy player of all time?
There's an answer here that I could give, and I think Taylor would know straight away who I'm going to say. So I'll say it, but it's not going to be my answer. I've always had
say it
an affiliation with Kenyon Drake.
Oh yes,
but he's not my. I'm gonna call it. He's not my favorite. I act like he's my favorite, but he's not.
It's just a funny. It's a funny bit now.
It's a gag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me with Duke Johnson. Same thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can I give you a trio of players?
Go for it.
Sorry.
Hit me with your holy trinity. Yeah.
The holy trinity of players. So my very first year of fantasy, probably 9 or 10 years ago.
Can I guess one? Can I try and guess one?
Yeah.
Adam Thielen?
No.
You had a massive fit to Thielen when we first started playing fantasy. And you actually got him on the ground floor. He was fucking awesome.
It was, but this was this was the first year I got dragged into a comp when I was living in New Zealand, and I won the comp in my first year. So these three players took me to victory.
Here's the story of the truck pulling the trailer. Here we go. What do you got?
Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, always a favourite.
Yes.
I had the combo. I had him throwing to Eric Decker.
Oh, that's right. You fucking love that guy.
And they just dominated all year for me, those two. They just were the combo. And then my other little love was Danny Woodhead.
Who didn't love Danny Woodhead? PPR was made for Danny Woodhead.
He was so good.
Eric Decker. That's a blast from the past. Former Titan, shout out.
He went to the Titans, didn't he, in the end?
Yeah, he went to the Titans to die, like pretty much every wide receiver does.
Yeah. So that's my podium. I've pushed Kenyon Drake off the podium. I've gone old school to my early years.
Where's the mailman?
Need some advice?
Would you rather have a small slice of a lovely cake?
Who has the mail?
Or would you rather a huge piece of a dog shit cake?
Thanks to your questions at Pastry Press NFL.
And Aussie NFL Fantasy.
I guess this is kind of a shit cake, but it could be a decent cake too.
Now, while we've got you here, we'll dive into a mailbag. I've got 2 questions in the mailbag, and these are from folks who just looking to get a quick answer on a couple of things to try and help them firm up their lineup. We've got 4 teams on bye this week as well, which means that some things can get a bit desperate. And God, with all the trying to cover for injuries and all other sorts of things that happen through the life of a fantasy manager, mate, I'm going to go to you first on this one too, Kieran, because I think this is the way to go. Instead of getting Taylor's...
We use this time, Gaz. We promise.
You throw it to Taylor, and he gives like a minute and a half answer, and then I throw it to our guest. Our guest is like, "Oh, fucking Taylor said everything there is to say about everybody." So that's why I give you an equitable shot, mate.
Taylor dissected the fucking parents of the player.
So the first one is from at the Joker, which is just th_JKR. So very, very nifty use of shorthand there at the Joker. Question is, James Conner, are you buying, selling, or holding?
Oh, God. James Conner.
You got any James Conner shares, mate?
No, that's the thing. I'm not involved in the James Conner business.
Do you want to buy in? Like, is there any party that goes, gee, I'm missing a bit of James Conner. I'm fucking a bit thirsty for some Conner.
I'm always a bit jealous of the teams that have James Conner. So, to be honest, if I'm just going off the jealousy, I'm always wishing I was involved in them. I never seem to get to draft him, though, for some reason, because Taylor's always in my leagues.
Taylor loves guys named Conner. Loves them.
Reaches up, reaches around, everything. He reaches for James Conner. So, I'll buy in.
Well, the thing about Conner is, I don't know if you could ever really feel like he's a good sell candidate because he doesn't have the name that's exciting to anyone. Like he basically comes in and does his job every single year. I feel like he's perennially underrated. So like Kez said, he's always one of my targets because he always goes at running back 18 to 20. But I feel like when he plays, he always beats his ADP. It's just always been injuries for him that's been the issue. So
100%.
I just think in any league you have him, you probably want to have Benson on your league just to sort of back him up. But outside of the horrendous game he had against Detroit, and to be fair, everyone has a shit game on the ground against Detroit.
Yeah,
I just think he's so consistent, and Kyler just uses him as a safety blanket in the backfield. So I would hold, like I have him in a few leagues, so I'm definitely holding. I don't really see him as a good sell target because he just doesn't have the name value of a lot of guys anyway. So I don't know what you'd be getting back. So I just trust him. And honestly, if anyone's looking to give him to me, I'll fucking snap him up.
Okay. I mean, I'm into James Conner, but I'm starting to worry about where it starts to fall apart a bit for Arizona because they're about to come up against some pretty good rushing defenses. So if I can get good value for him, I'm pretty happy to sail him away. But I'm just not sure what that would look like. I did draft him in one league where it's a 16-team league, and on draft day, 10 minutes after the draft, I traded him to Manjot for Amari Cooper, and I almost immediately regretted it. I've since been able to get out of Amari Cooper, which has been fine, but I do kind of wish that I just kept James Conner from the outset. So I've had a bit of jealousy since then.
I just like that he's kind of game script proof. Like even when Arizona's down, he just gets involved in the passing game, and when they're winning, he gets so many touchdowns. He hasn't had that many this year, but if anything, that means I feel like he's in for positive regression the rest of the season. I feel like he's going to get them. So yeah, I'm happy being in the James Conner business because you just don't really ever get many like bad games. Like he's had one this year.
I feel like we might have a James Conner water bet somewhere in that, but I'll come back to you on that.
Oh yeah,
so I'm not as plucky about him, but okay. Second one comes in from at Kyle Pitts' mouth.
Okay.
Sure. Again, I'm going to kick to Kez first on this one. Mate, do you have any hope for Tyreek this season?
We were just ripping on Miami earlier, weren't we? Like,
we sure.
I feel like the R chain conversation applies to Tyreek as well. Everyone's realizing that Tua must have been pretty serviceable there because no one else can do anything. I'm going to say no hope. I think he needs the ball thrown to him. He's not getting the ball himself, so I think he's going to struggle.
Tay, any hope?
It depends what your aspirations are for him at this point. Is there hope to get the guy that you drafted in like the top 3 in the draft? No, there isn't. I mean, Tua's coming back. It seems like Tua's coming back. I don't know. He's obviously seeing the doctor, and we're going to find out exactly what they say. So there is optimism that Tua's coming back after like about week 8 or week 9. Let's say it's like a week 11, just for hearsay. there is optimism about him coming back and then that obviously helping him. Let's assume we're talking about no Tua. There's no chance he returns his, your return on investment where you drafted him, zero. Absolutely none. But look, he had 6 for 60 odd last week. Can he just be a serviceable wide receiver for you moving forward? I think so, because the dude's a freak and he's going to get open, and eventually Huntley's going to get better as he moves forward, you would think. He can't really get much worse. So I think he's not exactly a target of mine or anything, because I feel like his name still carries too much value, but I feel like there's a chance he could, in a full PPR, still get you 10 to 15 points in any given week. So, yeah, it just depends what you're thinking he needs to be for you.
So it sort of sounds almost like you're saying, you can't trade him away because you'll never get value, and you can't pick him up from people because they think he has too much value still.
I don't know. I'd still float him out there because I've definitely looked into him, and like people are still keen to hold him. I guess because they like the offers I'm probably looking at giving probably aren't amazing. Let's be honest.
They shouldn't be.
No,
they shouldn't be amazing.
But like, I don't know, like people still seem to be a bit plucky with him because they've obviously they don't want to completely give up on the asset they drafted. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's worth like looking at trades if you have him. But again, if you're getting just absolute turds in return, then I just wouldn't bother. Just hold him.
So I'm starting to think about, okay, so what do you expect you could get back from him? Because at the moment, Tyreek Hill or Brian Thomas. They're the same player pretty much, right?
I fucking love Brian Thomas. I brought
him the line
preseason with you. Like, everyone just got this weird thing on the weekend one
You
time.
woke up one day with an erection for Brian Thomas Jr. You just woke up and boing, it was there.
It's like in the middle of the preseason, I'm like, Matty, I just really fucking love Brian Thomas. Hasn't even taken a snap in the NFL. I really like him. Honestly, the way he is playing, I think I'd honestly lean Brian Thomas. And he just clearly is the guy now, which is insane to say.
Insane.
But I think I would. I know Tua could be not far away, but I'm leaning Thomas on that one.
And then, like, either of the Tampa receivers you'd take over Tyreek at the moment.
Easy.
I mean,
Talbot.
Jalen Talbot, of course.
Even the fucking untouchable Drake London, all of a sudden it's like, well, fuck, I'd rather have 100 Drake Londons now than any Tyreek Hills. So it's just, isn't it funny how fast things can shift and how far they can move?
Yep.
If you've got some questions for the mailbag, send them in at Aussie NFL Fantasy.
For the Aussie Gridiron Network.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Like I said in the group chat, it's just good to take out the trash this week, mate. Just,
I wanted you to panic. I wanted you to start feeling a bit sweaty and nervous, Tay.
Aussie?
100 rebound game is going to have the sign up like Luke did for the 100 point.
The moose is loose.
NFL.
If Kev has a problem with this team, I'd like him to meet me at the back of the pub and we'll go fisticuffs because this is a good team.
Fire him up. Hong Kong.
Fire him up. Kong Kong.
Fantasy.
No, if I can teach that bloke a thing or two about wrestling Crocs, mate. You think a Croc's scary. You see me when I've got to defend Nick's honour.
Seattle's 26, so it's not like he's like a young spring chicken.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Riddle me this. Conklin and Swift for Kelsey.
I think you could probably have a guess.
Fellas, we've got to talk a little bit of breakouts because we do this every week, and through the regular season here, it's just an opportunity to give people a real indication of the strength with which we've got conviction about a play in a particular week at each position. So what we do, we run through quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. We all bring one, and we sort of stick a fork in there to say either how many points do we think the player can get, or maybe where they might finish in rankings. If we just think they're going to be number one with a bullet, yep, number one. But maybe they're a player who's a bit lower ranked, and you think they can get a certain amount of points, just to really stake a claim on a player at each position. Tay, we didn't do this last week because we did our buy low and sell high segment, which I love. I really love doing that segment. I've listened to that show a couple of times now because I know how much value it brings people, and I really enjoy making it and then listening to it. But back into the mode here for week 6, just 1 week. What do you want to do here with your quarterback? Who are you looking at?
Yeah, so obviously I like to take a look at matchups. There's enough data, I think, through 5 weeks to sort of take on the 2024 instead of just looking at, say, last year or like some of those rankings I brought up with PFF leading into this year. So I'm taking on a guy who's only just sort of come back from injury. He hasn't exactly looked fantastic since he's been back, but I think this matchup's definitely a get-right matchup for him. So I'm taking Jordan Love up against the Cardinals. 24 ranked against quarterback this year. I just think back at home, I know Arizona have been sort of like plucky with their defense. Like some games that they haven't let in as many points as you would think. But I just don't trust that team. They don't have a pass rush. I just don't think they're going to get to Jordan Love. And I just think this is a massive get right game for him. So I've got him being a top 3 quarterback this week.
Ooh, that's a big call. Hey, Kieran, you got a bit of love for a quarterback this week? Bit of extra zip?
I do. It could be a little bit controversial, but I don't know. I'm gonna believe in myself. It's not that controversial, to be honest. I like Jaden. I like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
He's up against Baltimore. I know Baltimore's a pretty hard place to go to and play, but Baltimore seem to have given up quite a few yards in the air as opposed to other teams. So I think Jaden Daniels is really, proving himself. I think he'll be a really good one to target this week.
I mean, I also think, like Taylor says about Connor in the previous segment, if they're behind, Daniels will run and pass his way out of trouble. Yeah, and if they're in command, he also still does enough to keep the ball moving. And I just don't think there's ever a bad time for him. He's kind of like one of these young mobile quarterbacks where there's never a bad time to play him. So I'm kind of low-key in love with Jaden Daniels. But I had Jordan Love on my list, and I'd sort of only put him down as top 5. But the other player who I really had some conviction on was in the same game as Kez here. And I'm saying I think this is the perfect recipe for Lamar Jackson to be your QB1 this week, because I think Washington do enough to score points. Man, they score some points. But we've seen that it doesn't matter whether he's ahead or behind. Lamar Jackson scores a bunch of points. But gee, when they're behind, he gets it going with the legs, and that's super important. So I'm putting my flag on Lamar being quarterback 1 this week.
Yeah, I've got a league I looked at and I saw Lamar was staring at me against me in the matchup, and I was like, this just could be an absolute fisting. It just looks like a kind of game he could absolutely dominate. And it's one of those ones at the preseason where I look at it and I go, Lamar Jackson, everything I said completely wrong. Everything I said about Mahomes, completely right. So I'm just taking it as a complete wash. And like you and I had our talks about why I thought Henry was going to be taking a lot of stuff off Lamar. You were like, nah, Lamar's going to be the guy. I think Henry, you didn't have him heaps lower or anything, but you had him lower than I did. No. And in the end, it just turned out that they're just both awesome. Like, it's just like basically everything they do, they just basically took away every pass catcher they have and just said everything's Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and nothing else. And it worked.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely unbelievable. Hey, Karen, I'm going to throw to you for the running back first, because otherwise, again, Taylor takes everything. So I'm going to come to you for the running back first. You got a running back who you think is just fucking flat stick this week, balls to the wall. Let's go.
No, I just had a plan tonight to say whatever Taylor said, just agree with him. So this is kind of throwing a spanner in the works for me. Oh, no.
Sorry, mate. Didn't mean to expose you.
No, it's fine. Bit of a theme of mine tonight is like players who've got the monkey off their back last week, and I think
I love this.
Josh Jacobs has a really good matchup this week against Arizona. I think he got the monkey off his back with the touchdown last week, and I think he'll be strong again this week against Arizona, who don't really know how to defend the run too well.
I don't know how to defend a heap of things. Tay, surely you got to love this because you've got the quarterback in the same matchup.
Yeah, I do. I just think Arizona's beatable all over the place. I actually thought the Niners did a disservice to their team by not running it more. Like Jordan Mason had a very good yards per carry, but then they just decided to start passing a shitload. And I actually think it was really dumb. I actually think they should have run the ball more. Like Mason should have 30 carries. And I honestly think they would have won the game if he did. It was actually pretty bad by Shanahan, honestly. I just think they could have kept running. So, yeah, I can see Jacobs. The good thing for Jacobs last week, too, was he seemed to take a stranglehold over that backfield. Starting to get more involved, but I think he had like 75% of the snaps or something. So, yeah, it was good for Jacobs, though, to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, I just gone and picked up Wilson everywhere I could, just in case, because he was free. And it seems like, okay, so you lose nothing when you do that if they don't turn into anything. But, you only ever stand to gain from that. And I don't know that there's a heap to gain there. It looks like Jacobs is kind of stamped on that, which is fine. It wasn't exactly how I was expecting it to go down when the season started. I did think he was probably going to be in a bit more of a timeshare with somebody. But, at this stage, probably wrong. Hey, Tate, who's your running back for this week?
All right, I've done something a little different here. I've actually gone with a daily double. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair them together, and I'm going to give them essentially a line or something I think they're going to do combined. So I've got Bijan at the Panthers. I think this is a get-right game for him. Everyone's freaked out about him. I think he absolutely dominates Carolina this week. They're second last against the running back position. And
Yeah,
I've
they suck.
also got my boy Monty up against the Cowboys, who are 26th against running back. What I've done is I think those two are going to combine for 4 touchdowns. 4 plus. I reckon they get 2 each. I mean, one can get 3, one can get 1. Don't care.
It wouldn't matter.
For 4 plus.
Gosh. But I've very recently, after the buy sell episode last week, went out and tried to buy as much Bijan as I can, because I'm trying to take a page out of the Taylor Goodall playbook here, and you say it, then you go and you just fucking do it as many places as you can. So I'm hoping that this comes up, because I've done a bit of investing in Bijan lately.
I just think because
Can we get a FanDuel boost on that one, Tay?
FanDuel boost, yeah. Will Bill Simmons boost it for me?
Yeah.
It's look. No one else has ever done this bet before, Kieran. So they have to name it after me. I'm a pioneer.
The Taylor Goodall Hail Mary.
I like how at the moment I've got the Taylor list, but I've got so Bijan for a top 5 performance. That's probably not that bold, but the guy I've got, I think this is the turnaround for Kamara, who's going to be playing Tampa Bay, and I think this is the week where he gets it all. He gets a whole bunch of out of the backfield stuff. He gets to pound the rock, and it'll be fine. No one's really taking carries off him. That's definitely not a thing. And I just kind of wonder about the Carr thing, whether all of a sudden now, whether he's playing or not, now it just makes Kamara even more useful out of the backfield, whether they're going to start Stetson Bennett, the poor chump they had to drag in out of nowhere the other night, or whether it is Carr. This is where I'm hanging my hat on Kamara.
It's Spencer Rattler, isn't it?
There you go, Rattler.
Yeah.
That's the guy. The guy who's 150
Rattler
years old.
Hayner. Hayner was the one that came in for the few snaps when Carr had to go out against the Chiefs. But
that's right. Stetson Bennett's the other guy who's 100 years old who plays for the Rams and is about the 5th on their depth chart, isn't he? Yeah, there you go.
He was like a
100-year-old quarterbacks. Yeah, there you go.
A 30-year-old rookie. But yeah.
There you go.
But
30-year-old white guys. I'm just messing them all up.
I think honestly, people, just to sort of elaborate a little bit on that, I think people who are Olave owners are interested to see how it looks with a different quarterback, especially Rattler, because Rattler used to just peg it around in college, and there's obviously been an issue between Carr and Olave for fucking ages. So it'll be interesting to see how that rapport is with a different quarterback.
It'd be the shitting in his cereal, I think. That would be the problem.
That is the issue, yes. I don't think I need to know Spencer Rattler's breakfast schedule. Is he putting turds in Olave's fucking breakfast like Carr is? I don't know.
If I was Olave, I'd move to toast by now. That's the thing I'd have done.
I wouldn't allow anything that could be just mixed in fucking milk.
Just having Pop-Tarts. That's it. Just Pop-Tarts and up and go.
Nothing that can have a shit in it. No way.
Yeah, that's it. Pre-packaged. Single serves.
Anyway, we're going to move on.
Quality entertainment as usual, boys.
Yeah, just wonderful.
This is it. So I'm going to throw to you for the wide receiver this week. Who you think is going to spring into action? Give us a big score.
Well, Matty, I've got a rhyme for this one. CeeDee Lamb is going fucking ham. He is going against the Lions, the second last against wide receiver. I just think this game just is going to fucking leak points out its arsehole. There's going to be so many points in this game. Dak just gets like this where he's down and then just absolutely just finds garbage time points wherever he can find it. And I just think the Lamb is going to eat. They had the fucking spat at each other again last week against the Steelers. That was just a horrendous game for a lot of pass catchers in general, outside of Talbot, of course, Kez. It wasn't a game that was set up. It was just with the shitty rain, and the Steelers generally are a very good defense. But I just think the Lions, they're a pass funnel. They are so good at defending the run, so everyone has to pass on them. And if the Cowboys get even slightly behind, it's just Dak's going to throw for like these. I'll add this to it. Dak's going to throw for 400 plus yards in this game.
He'll throw 50 times.
Yeah,
he'll throw 50 times.
CD gets 30% of that. He's absolutely.
How much does Talbot get?
Yeah, well, Talbot gets the other 70, obviously. But CeeDee Lamb is going ham, and I've got him for top 2, which means obviously him and Talbot are going to be the top 2.
Top 2, fucking hell. I think we could probably say, Kez, you're going to say Talbot, aren't you?
I'm starting to lose my understanding of what this segment's actually about. Everyone's choosing like top line quarterbacks and stuff, and I'm starting to fear the person I've actually written down on this piece of paper.
Hey, I
have a case because I've paired them with my quarterback Jaden Daniels, and I've gone. I think Terry McLaurin's got a bit of his mojo back, and I think he's going to have a good day on the weekend. But I'm feeling a bit nervous.
No, I love this. I love this because I mean, you're saying either if the game is well within hand, then Daniels is going to play well anyway. But if he's got to throw that ball around and his favourite target is McLaurin, well, it's fucking time that McLaurin put up a score that's worthy of the target share he's getting. And I think he is someone who has been. I think people were hopeful for him at the start of the year that he would be the target in that offense, but were unsure what the volume was going to actually be worth. Now we can see that the volume in that offense is actually worth something because they're scoring points. It'd just be good to see him personally cash in on it.
Yeah, I think this is the week. I think you saw enough last week. I think he got over 100 yards. I think he's going to be pretty sought after this week.
Well done for stacking that bitch up too, Kez. Just for anyone listening too, just because Kez brought this up, really all this segment is it doesn't matter which player or position. Like Matty just took the quarterback one on the year. It's really about just having conviction on someone and then beating probably where your perception of them is. I mean, if you're taking the quarterback one, Matty said, I think he's the quarterback one this week.
Has to finish
you
one.
Can't go any higher than that. I took CeeDee Lamb, who probably has in everyone's minds probably a top 5-6 receiver, even though he's at like 19 or something so far this year. That's why I took him as top 2. I'm trying to say that basically the guys I'm picking, even if they might be higher owned or everyone's playing them, I'm saying that this is going to be a massive week for them. It's not just that I think they're going to be decent. So, yeah, it really is up to you. You can take a lowly owned guy. If you can take the wide receiver 40 on the year in this segment, but you're saying they're going to be like a top 18 or something. You're just trying to basically take a guy and say he's going to be better than what the perception of him is.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, Taylor. So thank you very much for clarifying.
No problem.
That is just poetry right there.
Okay.
I'm gonna go and throw Chris Godwin into the hat here and say this is the week where he there's Mike Evans weeks and there's Godwin weeks. This is going to be a Godwin week, and it's going to be a Godwin week because the Saints defense aren't beat you way deep over the top there. They'll give you that middle range, and that's more Godwin space. And I'm putting him in as a top 5 this week. I think this is a week where it's him, not so much Evans. So I'm throwing him in there.
It's a Godwin week because it's tails.
Yeah,
not
that's
head.
It. Heads, tails, heads. That's it. That's simple. I just toss the coin earlier, and away we go. Hey, Kaz, I'm going to give you tight end as a first run at tight end because tight end is a basket case of shit, and I'd rather you have a crack at it first and then leave Taylor to pick from the bones. Have you got some conviction on a tight end? Is this someone you really think is going to kick ass this week?
Yeah, I think this is one of the tight ends who has actually performed all year. I think Trey McBride would do all right against Green Bay. So I had Trey McBride as someone who I'd be pretty keen on this week. I think he was in my guillotine league, wasn't he, Taylor? Now he's
he's loose.
Now he's getting picked up by everyone for fab bits.
My team must have been so bad. Some of my players didn't even get they got picked up off the waiver wire after the waivers went through. No one had to bid; they just picked them up for free.
Like, oh my god!
The funniest story.
Our chain didn't even get bidded. No one bidded for our chain.
Yeah, someone picked him up right after. That was the thing. That's the shit thing. I think I brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Is I have that many fucking leagues in Sleeper, so I get that many notifications at the exact same time of leagues like waiver reports running. So I have to I have to swipe through to try and get to guillotine first. And there's always some bastard that picks up someone awesome that wasn't bid on, just before I could. I think one guy picked up Devontae Smith 2 or 3 weeks ago for free. Didn't even have to bid on him. Just think he got completely forgotten about because I think he had the buy or something. So. Yeah, that was pretty funny. A story just from that waiver report quickly. Josh, who's going to come on the podcast later in the year, he'd missed out on bad bids all fucking year by $1. He just kept getting outbid just. So he was like, fuck this. So this week, he put a $33 bid. We've only got $100, and it's obviously guillotine, so you kind of need to watch your money a little bit. He put a $33 bid on George Pickens and got him, and no one else bid on him. And he was like, gosh. I finally got someone, and I'm still pissed. I bid way too much for a guy that no one else even wants it.
And I mean, he's in the position where he's just desperately trying not to get cut as well, right? He was pretty lucky last week, from what I understand. And so he's going to go swinging for the fences to keep alive. Yeah, that hurts when no one else is thinking what you're thinking. You just spent $30.
Throws an overspend out there on George Pickens. There's honestly nothing worse than that when you overspend, and then you want to see on the sleeper thing a few bids underneath you. Yes, I just got
him. You beat people to someone.
My Flacco bid last week for $28 had absolutely no one else. But to be honest, it didn't give a shit because it literally got me the win, so I don't care. My tight end, same exact team. You would think, even though I took a wide receiver to be top two, I've just brought up how many yards that fucking Dak's going to throw to. I'm taking Ferguson at tight end. I just think this team is going to be throwing all fucking game. They can't run, especially against Detroit.
Nope.
I don't think there's ever been more of a mismatch in terms of a team's running back core compared to the way that a team defends the run. What I've done with this, Matty, and bring back the little logo, I am putting Jake Ferguson as a TD guarantee.
We haven't had a TD guarantee since early last year.
That's what I thought. I've done all this weird shit where I've always said like a rank, like where I think they're going to be in the top whatever. I'm like, stuff this. I'm going to do something a bit different this week. I did my stack for 4 touchdowns and tight end this week. I'm saying Ferguson's a TD guarantee.
Wow. You have to dig out that graphic again and just make sure it doesn't have Dr. Goodcall's face on it. I can't remember if it does or not. I'll have to.
He's like the P. Diddy of the NFL fantasy world. It's just no one wants to see him.
Yeah, that guy's he's got leprosy or something. We can't bring him back. Everything about him is up in flames. Wow. This is that rare stack. You remember a couple of times last year too in starts of the week where we'd end up with like a running back tight end stack on the same team. And weirdly they'd come up. So I like this wide receiver tight end stack.
I actually talked myself out of it last week in starts of the week because I was going to take Tucker Kraft because I'd taken Wicks. I didn't, and I would have won.
Yeah.
so
you would chase me down with Tucker Kraft.
Never talk yourself out of a wide receiver tight end stack. It clearly works 60% of the time every time.
Especially when your wide receiver does fuck all. So, you know.
Exactly. Thank you, Dontavian.
Yeah, he did a great job of avoiding targets. It's like dodgeball out there. But my tight end, I also had McBride as someone who I thought has a great potential to be tight end number one. But the guy, and I learned how to say his name this week because I've apparently for the last like 4 years not know how to say this guy's name. But and also because it doesn't work with the nickname, right? So I'm going to go with Pat Fryermuth. Apparently that is how you pronounce it, Fryermuth. Apparently he's not all that particular about it because he loves hearing the crowd go moose every time he gets a big catch. So the Muth is Luth is much more fun than the Muth is Luth. So I might have to stick with it. But the Raiders have been abhorrent for the last 37,000 years at defending tight ends. And that reign of terror continues. So, the Muth will get loose against Las Vegas in my books. And I reckon this is, I don't want to pitch the touchdown guarantee, but I'm going to give you a 12-point line on this guy. No dramas. Yeah. So there we go. We've got Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, and Lamar Jackson as our quarterbacks who we all think are going to do all right there. Tay, you've got, what did you have? Top three?
Yep.
Top three. Man, I love that. Yeah, I like your running back idea here where you've got the two guys, Bijan Robinson and David Montgomery, to combine for 4+ touchdowns. I love that. Josh Jacobs against Arizona and Kamara against Tampa Bay also in there. And then wide receiver CeeDee Lamb versus Detroit. Terry McLaurin at Baltimore and Chris Godwin at New Orleans. And then the rare tight end wide receiver stack, CeeDee Lamb and Fergie Ferg. Oh my gosh, with the touchdown guarantee, ring the bell. I don't have a bell.
Definition, make the boys go loco. Yeah.
Oh, mate, I got the bell. I might just whip a bit of Fergie in there. Trey McBride at Green Bay and then Fryermuth against the Las Vegas Raiders. They are our potential breakouts this week. And fellas, thank you so much for compiling that and talking us through it. I always love that segment. It's good to be talking about players. We spend so much time talking about the fringe players. It's nice to talk about some players who are, they're owned, they're started, and just give people the big thumbs up, the green light.
Yeah, that's kind of why I did it. I was like, we can't just talk about like a lowly owned, like waiver wire pickups and stuff the entire time. We've got other segments for that. So I thought that's why we'd talk about some more higher owned guys and just guys we thought we have conviction on this specific week.
TALOR. Taylor Talk time. Hot Diggity Dog.
It dovetails sort of really nicely then into, we've just talked about some big guys. Then we start talking the Taylor Talk range where everything's possible, right? We've talked about some iffy stuff when it comes to the mailbag, then talked about some guys who we think will just blow the fucking barn doors off. And then, Tay, your opportunity to talk about, well, pretty much anything you want here and set players up however you see fit and give us the case for why they're compelling.
Absolutely, mate. I'll just quickly touch on last week. Obviously, the way we had it set up last week, I decided to take basically the NFC South pretty much the entire way. And I went 3 guys in that first game, and it kind of worked out well given the fact it was a massive shootout. I wanted to just point out, like last week, like I couldn't believe that only 25% of leagues had Baker starting. It was more of just a point out of like how ridiculous this guy was going. I think he was quarterback 5 at the time. Now I think he's quarterback 2. Like he actually went further forward from that. So I brought him up as my sort of start of the week on Taylor Talk against the Falcons, and he fucking dominated. Like somehow he was not even the best fantasy quarterback in the game though. But he didn't have a huge amount of yards, but he just sort of dissected the Falcons defense so well in the first half. They didn't quite need him in the second half as much, but 3 touchdowns, 200 odd yards, like to get that as a streamer, as a guy that's getting started in a quarter of the leagues, I was pretty happy with that call.
Yeah, it's an extraordinarily good call. And just, it's weird to me to think too that Baker is still in that, like, are even half the league starting him yet? It's just so weird to me because he's clearly volume. He's just volume, and he will be passing touchdowns. He's shown you that for a month now. Like, you don't have to wait around to work out whether he's any good. We've seen it.
I also took Tyler Algier in that game as my running back. I just wanted to point it out, like, I felt like he was startable, like in a pinch, even with Bijan playing. Bijan came in with some sort of injury concerns last week as well, so I just thought there was an opportunity there. He's being used. He's a very good back. He was only 3% started. So this wasn't exactly one that I was saying, this guy's going to bang out a 20 or something, but he was very useful, and he was used a lot in the middle of the game there. I didn't have his exact numbers in the end. I think he scored somewhere between 8 and 10 points, but I thought he was actually quite good for a guy that was barely being started by anyone. So I wasn't really too displeased with my call there.
I think you'll get that out of him most weeks, regardless of Bijan as well, that he spends just enough time in the game. They'll give him most of a series at a time as well. So it's he definitely has a role in that offense that's not just spelling Bijan. They send him out there very deliberately at times to take some charge. So I think we're going to see that a lot. And I think to me, he is one of the very true handcuffs in this in this format too, where if anything happens to Bijan, practically that entire role is going to Tyler Algier, and that he will do it with a whole large degree of acumen as well. Like he'll really do the role justice as well. So I think anyone who owns Bijan, if you haven't got Algier, you probably should have got him, and if you don't, you probably need to find a way to get a hold of him.
Yep. The only guy I didn't have in that game was still in the same division. This was a bit of a bag of dicks in the end. He got injured during the game, which didn't help. Yeah. But I took rookie Xavier Legette against the Bears. It wasn't a fantastic matchup being 6 against wide receiver, but I just liked what I saw the week earlier. The only concern is now, I feel like the Dalton thing's already kind of starting to wear off. Like, I feel like we got an amazing turnaround because it wasn't Bryce Young, but now it's already sort of looking a bit down. 1.9 points, went off of an injury. Just wiped that one away. It turned out to be shit. So, I'll move on from that one.
And it was a 10% start, so you're sort of saying, hey, as a spot start, here's a guy, but you can't forecast injury.
Yep. Tight end, my boy Kate Otten. I was stoked every time he got a catch in that game. He was a 5% started tight end, so definitely went low in the tight end realm for this one, but 3 for 44. Look, it's not, it's nothing that's like breaking the doors down or anything like that. But in a pinch at tight end, getting 7.4 full PPR points out of your tight end, I don't really think it's too much to sneeze at, considering some of the guys you drafted in the top 5 can't even get that.
Oh my God! How many points does Mark Andrews high watermark this year? Jesus Christ.
I think it was last week. I think he ended up like 450 or something.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Fourth quarter.
It's horrendous, isn't it? Horrendous. I mean, we've been banging the let's pay out Mark Andrews drum a bit tonight. So poor guy.
We have Jesse in our Kelly Cup league who drafted Andrews and Likely, and he's been sitting on them all year wondering what to do. And last week he finally made the call to cut Likely, and he sent me a message and he said, Mark Andrews 2 TDs this week. And I'm like, oh, okay, likely got 2 TDs.
That is the tight end position.
And he got stopped on the 2 on what could have been another one as well, which is the one that Kolar scored. And you go, oh my God, could have 3.
Didn't he have like 13 yards or something? Likely, it was like no yards for his 2 touchdowns. It was fucking hilarious.
It was hilarious. It was basically barely seen, then just 2 touchdowns and just rubbing it in Jesse's face. So Jesse, if you're listening, unlucky, mate.
Yep, shout out.
You shoot, Jesse. Take that. I don't know, Jesse. I'm sorry, mate.
I tried to send him Gardner Minshew today, and then I ended up dropping him.
Gardner Minshew for Isaiah Likely.
I sent him a trade because it said Superflex, so I was like, I at that point I knew I was putting in a bid for Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones in a Superflex was on the waivers. I kind of actually like him moving forward with the rushing baseline, and now's a good
he'll run
this week. I'm like, I know Gardner's going to lose that starting spot probably at some stage, so I was like, I'll go for Danny Dimes, and then I'm like, but someone might want. I looked at anyone that didn't have a second quarterback this week, and he was one. So I was like, maybe you'll want Gardner Minshew, but there was no dice there. He actually laughed. He said normally he's got about 8 trade offers from me at this point this year, but he couldn't believe this is the first one I'd sent him. But he still said no.
And then he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go pick up Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up Officer Barber, Leader O'Connell.
So on that note, I was looking back with Jesse a couple of weeks ago from like the very first year Kelly Cup when Jesse was still learning how to do fantasy, and he had screenshots from messages Taylor had sent him from 4 years ago trying to offer him fucking dirt for his best players. That's like
fucking classic Taylor.
He's got all the receipts of the shit you sent him 4 years ago when you were trying to take advantage. So I think he's a bit wary, Tay.
Trying to take advantage. How did I know it was his first time?
All these fantasy virgins, you're just trying to freaking just
dog eat dog world, baby.
Deflower and defile.
Yeah.
Jesus.
All right, I'll get into this week. Just sort of speed this one up. But my quarterback this week is a guy that I just really like what he's doing moving forward. He struggled obviously as a rookie early, but he's still only 27% start in leagues, even though he had a very good week last week. I'm taking Caleb Williams. Shout out to Nick, who took Caleb in our starts of the week last week. I didn't even have him on my list. He sort of just was one I didn't even really think of because the O-line struggles. But the O-line stood up a lot better last week. Really, it's about the matchup. Like the Jags are last against quarterback, and I know they seem to grow a leg. They seem to grow a leg when they go to London, but I still just think it's a defense that's very beatable. So I think at least if his O-line just stands up okay, I don't think the Jags are going to be pressuring him too much. So I just really like the situation for Caleb. So he's my quarterback for Taylor Talk this week.
Oh, fuck. If London's a fortress, mate, even though it's an away game for the Jags, it's home in our hearts.
It so is. I can't believe that they're allowed. It's like when Brisbane play Magic Round in Brisbane and they get an away game.
And they get an away game against fucking Canterbury or something.
Somehow
they're from Sydney.
I can't stand it. It fucking does my head in.
Fuck you, Brisbane. Carry on.
Screw you, man, Jot.
Yeah, that's who that was at.
Thanks for listening. By the way.
I love you, man, Jot. I'm sorry I'm not going to commentate you with you this week. Sorry, mate.
All right, I'll go to my running back, and this is one that I kind of wanted to say, like, obviously, if the starter's out, this guy's amazing, but I wanted to almost, like, point out, kind of like Algier, I think he's actually got startability even if the starter plays, and it's Tyrone Tracy of the Giants. I just think he looks far better than Singletary. Like, he goes out and has, 129 yards on the ground last week? Like, Singletary couldn't do that in 3 games. Like, it's... Like, he's clearly got the juice. So I honestly think if even a Singletary was named to come back with that groin injury, I just think you're going to see more and more of Tracy this week. I just don't think you can watch him do that. He's against the Bengals, who are 20th against running back, but generally their defense is just falling apart. Like, you've seen how good their offense is, and they're still 1-4 because they can't, like, stop a bag of dicks. So, yeah, like, he's only 19% started right now. That will obviously be more if Singletary's ruled out again, but I don't know. I just have more conviction in this guy. Like, I picked him up in Kelly Cup and played him last week. I might even think about playing him even if Singletary's there, honestly. I feel like he's going to get a lot more work and it's going to be closer to a 50-50 split.
I'm going to rename Singletary Zero Terry because I think that's how much I'm going to have.
Yeah, I think that matchup against Dallas where I had a lot of conviction in him and he just sucked. It's just kind of turned it for me. And I just think Tracy looks far better on the eye test. It kind of reminds you of watching like Jalen Warren and Najee last year. It's like one of them just looks far better. And look, if that's the role that Ty Tracy gets moving forward, it's like last year's Jalen Warren role. I still feel like that's very valuable.
You could start him. You could definitely start him. Like he was a flex when you were down some bye weeks and had an injury or whatever, and you could just throw him in and you get 8, 10, 11 points. It was great. Perfect. That's all you're hoping for.
I'm going to spruik myself a little bit with this wide receiver call as someone that I brought up so many times on the podcast in the preseason. And it was more about, I feel like this guy's far better value instead of taking a guy like Drake London. Why don't you take this guy instead? I mean, 50 spots later in drafts, and it's Darnell Mooney. I really felt like his connection with Kirk Cousins was going to be there. Darnell Mooney just had a pack of assholes throwing to him at the Bears. Like the amount of times you used to watch him beat his defender and just get airmailed by these dickheads. And he's gone to a guy that's very good in the deep ball. And it's weird, but Mooney gets deep shots, but he's also coming back for some of the intermediate routes too. He just looks like he's so open. It's one of those things where when you're just watching the coverage, you don't actually see the routes fully. You just see the ball getting thrown. And then all of a sudden, Mooney doesn't have anyone within fucking 20 yards of him. He clearly is just beating his man every single time. And for him to get that many targets last week, I know it was an insane game where Kirk Cousins threw a ridiculous amount of times, 50-odd,
58 pass attempts,
outside of week one, Mooney has just been their best receiver. He is just so involved in this team, and he's at 34%. I think he's going to go up after this big wave of waivers runs. So I think he'll probably end up maybe a bit over 50%, but I just wanted to have him because he's got a match up against the Panthers, the 23rd against the wide receiver position. Their defense is just awful everywhere, honestly. So I just think this is another good matchup for him.
Incredible for Carolina to have a terrible offense and a terrible defense. Isn't it amazing? You think, given the millions of dollars you get in salary cap, that you should be good at least one of them.
There's at least the option that Dalton could be okay. When it was Bryce Young, you kind of felt like, oh shit, they're going to be up 17-0 at halftime and just cruise through the second half. At least with Dalton there's a chance they keep up a little bit. So you're kind of like, oh, could it be a bit of a shootout? Or at least they might be at least making Atlanta throw in the second half. So that's what it could help Mooney.
I hope so. And one thing I brought this up in some group chats we were in, is that Mooney was doing this horrific thing through the week on that Friday game where he was letting the ball hit his pads instead of catching it in his hands, and he bobbled 2 really big third down plays because he let the ball get into his pads instead of catching in his hands. And it's that's receiver 101, which is so annoying to see because, oh my God, you got yourself so fucking open, and now the ball is on the ground, even though there's nobody to contest you. It was so infuriating to watch. And in all that, he still had 28 PPR points. So what would your day have been, mate? You're killing me.
I said that at the end. I said he is going to have the biggest fantasy day that still looks like it was shit house because he's going to drop that ball and everyone's going to remember it. But they end up winning, so it didn't matter. He had 2 of the biggest drops of the game. That one near the end was insane. He just
let it get into his
dropped
pads.
it cold. Yet he still had this amazing game. So I'm like, I don't think it's going to matter. If anything,
that touchdown grab was fantastic.
I just think it proves how open he is getting. He's a great route runner, and he always has been. So I'm happy for him. And Kez, you've got him in Dynasty. I think he's an awesome asset. I think I even threw some. I've got him in about 4 other leagues. I even spent about 18 fab on him in Sizzle and Quinny's league this week. I'm really, really confident in him moving forward. I think he's honestly an every week starter now.
In case you can look forward to Taylor offering you a 2027 fourth for Darnell Mooney this week.
That's about all I have.
Yeah, that'd be Taylor's best offer. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, mate.
That'd be a fair offer.
I gave you Jalen Warren and a 3rd for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that worked out well.
All right, I'll finish this up at tight end just because it's an arsehole position. No one really gives a shit. I'm sure everyone stopped listening. I'm going to go Zach Ertz against the Ravens. It's kind of similar to what Kieran brought out in his breakout players. I just think it's a good matchup for the pass catchers at Washington. Obviously, the Ravens are going to score a shitload of points, so Jaden Daniels is going to need to throw. Ertz had 8 fucking targets again last week. He's incredibly involved in this offense. Cliff Kingsbury has a massive erection for him.
He couldn't catch any of them, though.
No,
he was 2 for 8 or something.
I know.
He only caught 2 for 14 or something. It was
I'd
horrible.
still rather that at tight end, knowing that he's getting opportunities. I know it was shit last week because of the bad catch rate, but I just like the knowledge that he's getting that. And I honestly think that Daniels is going to pass more this week than he did against the Browns last week because they were just boat racing them. So, yeah, I feel like there's a massive opportunity against the Ravens. They're 29th against the tight end position this year. He's only 28% started. So, yeah, I like him this week.
Wow. And I mean, the tight end position's so bad. I think you could do worse than look at targets because it tells you a lot about potential involvement. And the catch rates, a player isn't always going to catch one out of every 4 balls coming their way. That's definitely not a sustainable rate, especially for a really wily and, experienced veteran whose offensive coordinator just loves the shit out of him. Brought him all the way over from Philadelphia in the first place and now has brought him back east again when he's left the West. So I think there's a lot to be said about when a player gets dragged by a coaching staff that far and then gets that amount of targets. So it's hard not to love the call. And I think Zach Ertz is someone who's kind of been left for dead a little bit in fantasy. He's a bit of a zombie who'll go out and throw up a 15, 16-point week soon and we'll all be like, oh, look at that, Zach Ertz is back. But Tay's been talking about this for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah,
he's also on my fantasy team.
Yeah, you've liked Ertz for a while. Yeah, he's just another name like that. Just no one really gives a shit about. He's old balls. He just doesn't. No one cares. It's a guy that's going to sit on waivers, and not a lot of people are even going to play with any conviction. So, yeah, I'm just saying. I think you can this week. I think he's a good option.
How about that? So, we're looking at Caleb Williams, Chicago, hosting the Jags in London, even though really that's a Jags home game. Tyrone Tracy Jr., New York Giants at Cincinnati's horrible defense. The wide receiver, Darnell Mooney, if he continues to catch things in the hands against Carolina, should be up for a good day out. And Zach Ertz, Washington at Baltimore, and what we expect to be a points fest. Man, I'm liking what you're doing here with this Taylor Talk segment every week. It's something a little different and shining some light on some people who might otherwise be a bit overlooked.
Absolutely, mate. Let's hope they go well this week.
Okay. Right, so, look, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. We've been through so much today. We've had Kieran come in and be subjected to the 5 questions, got through some mailbag. We've spoken breakouts. We've even got a bit of Taylor Talk in there. The goal now is to get all prepared for the Sunday show, which is, we'll get into the mailbag again, but we'll also hit the very famous starts of the week. I know someone who's very fucking happy about the results from last week's starts of the week, and it's not me. It's somebody else who's been crowing a bit about how the table looks. So we'll get into that. Kieran, I'm looking forward to running you through the starts of the week, Ringer, because I think it's a harder exercise than people think once you actually sit down and do the research.
Yeah, man, it's throwing me a curveball. I've been studying all day, and I'm still not confident.
It makes you wonder how Taylor and I stunk so bad in the first 2 weeks, but.
It also makes me wonder how Taylor keeps a job. Yeah.
100%. And I mean, he makes all his millions from this, and he volunteers down at the brewery. So.
Yeah, yeah, pro bono.
Yeah. They let him drink, and I don't even know what he does there. Actually, that's it. I just think he sits there.
hand samples
and it's tasty.
He just brings me samples.
Yeah,
he stocks my poker nights. That's about it.
I don't have many nice things to say about Taylor generally, but at least he brings me beer. So
the one and only good thing.
That's it. If you've got some questions, get them into the mailbag at Aussie NFL Fantasy. You can find that on Instagram and also on Facebook. Also, while you're at this, you hit the mothership. We at the Aussie Gridiron Network have so many things on offer. We've got the guys at G'day Gridiron who do just the best job breaking down and analysing the great reactions to what's happened in the previous week in the NFL, and then they get back later in the week and preview some games for later in the week, and also go through the G'day AI of what are the big topics in the NFL that are being talked about in the world. And I love that they do that. I got to join Ian on that show last week, and that was a heap of fun. You can also find Aussie Gridiron Today. This is the show that our old mate here, Manjot, has been putting together on Pastry Press NFL YouTube's channel. You can find that also through the mothership, and I'll give you that link in a second. You'll also find too our merch store. That's all. Just got absolutely everything to do with the Aussie Gridiron Network. We're going to have a really great new shirt in the merch store too. Late round flyer, our mate here, Kieran Goodall, has given us some inspiration this week. Find all of this, Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network. You can find it all there. G'day Gridiron, Aussie Gridiron Today, our merch store. Get in touch with us on the Instagram and give us a couple of questions for the mailbag. You'll find it all there. Fellas, in the meantime, we'll all get back on Sunday as long as you're not too traumatized. Kieran, I understand you'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's thinking about it. That was nice, and good to hear you got full of conviction and you're looking forward to it. Tay, you're contractually obligated, so can't wait to see you, mate.
I am. I have absolutely no choice. So you'll be forced to see me here, mate.
Yeah, it's my favourite part of the week. We'll see you all then. Hooroo.
Who frickin' roo?
Adios.
For the Aussie Gridiron Network.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
Because you say the Commanders' offense isn't bad. No, it is. It's bad.
I'll say Malik Willis. He might not be there to pick up.
You are a company man. Look at you.
Aussie.
You got the perfect guest on this week. You guys will be right.
Mate, I'm happier than a fart leaving ass cheek.
NFL.
I was just trying to think about how Mr. Purdy ended up this week. I think top 5, maybe.
Mr. Bortles, in fact.
Yeah.
It's spelled P-U-R-D, but it's pronounced Bortles.
Fantasy.
It was a really, really good double whammy for you, Brendan. I can't wait for you to tear shreds off Matty C.
Because you could score you 2.9, he could score you 29. He scored 2.9.
This is the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show.
I mean, it must be a joy to follow two teams that are trapped at the bottom of a division with yet to taste the winner's piss this year.